In this video, we look into the heartbreaking story of a woman who walked into a trap and never made it out. This is the tragic case of Lindsay Buziak. The Sunnage cops are looking for something with their detectives. It's a dress. It's pretty simple. It has designs in white, pink, and black. But this dress could be the only thing that helps solve a murder. A tall guy with dark hair and a middle-aged woman wearing the same dress were seen going into 1702 to Sousa Place to show a house to Lindsay Buziak, a junior real estate agent who was 24 years old, but after 20 minutes, no one had come out of the house later. Lindsay's dead body was found in the master bedroom. Even though the house was the scene of a crime, there were no fingerprints, DNA, or other hints. It was impossible to find even a single piece of clothes or hair. Some thought they were strangers. Some people thought it might be someone close to Lindsay. But the best way for them to find their main candidate was to find that dress. Before we go any further, don't forget to hit that like button. It truly helps the channel and brings more attention to these important cases. If you're a fan of true crime cases that dive deep into real events, make sure to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an upload. I'd really love to know where you're watching from. So drop your city or country in the comments below. It's always incredible to see how these stories reach people around the world. Now let's get started with today's case. She was born in Victoria, British Columbia, Canada, on November 2nd, 1983. Lindsay was known as kind, warm, friendly, and charming when she was younger. Jeff, her dad, was a real estate dealer, and Lindsay quickly became one too. Being a real estate agent was a great job for her because she was friendly, happy, and smart. All of her clients felt safe and welcome, and almost all of them had good things to say about her as an agent. On top of that, Lindsay was seeing another successful real estate agent called Jason Xyo. The people Jason came from were very wealthy and well-known. They owned a real estate business. Lindsay was 24 years old at the time of the case. She was very excited about her new job, and just starting out, she had been showing a lot of houses lately, and her job was quickly going in the right direction. She had been meeting a lot of new clients and had some showings that looked really good. One phone call, though, would change her life forever. Lindsay had no idea that this would be her last show. At the end of January 2008, Lindsay got a call on her cell phone, and now Lindsay had a work phone. This was the number she gave to people who wanted to rent an apartment or house. This client, on the other hand, called on her personal phone, which only her close family and friends had. It was a little strange, but nothing that would make you think danger. When Lindsay picked up the phone, a woman was on the other end. The name she gave Lindsay made her remember how strange she sounded. It almost sounded like she spoke Spanish, but not quite. It also didn't sound like she was Canadian. Lindsay called this customer the Mexicans because of this. I thought it was a pretty name, but these were Lindsay's words, not mine. Lindsay would always write down the names of her clients and the type of house they wanted. It looks like she would write down little nicknames for some of her clients to help her remember who they were. So this client had a few needs to begin. She needed a house right away, all set to move in. There's no fuss or mess. It was said by the woman to Lindsay that the couple would be in Victoria in 2 days and would need the house. By then, she almost passed out when Lindsay asked about the funds. The client had a pretty big budget for the house, which was more than enough for them. Her price range for a house in Victoria was $1 million. Lindsay was very happy. She thought that the fee would be crazy high if she could find this client a great house, especially since she was just starting out as a real estate agent. Lindsay thought this client was way too good to be true. It's too bad that this gut feeling was right. There was no good reason for Lindsay to think that something bad was going on with this client, but she couldn't shake the thought that something wasn't right. When you're this new deals, this good, don't just fall into your lap. There were a lot of strange things going on, like the fake accent, the huge budget, and the rush, plus a new client called Lindsay on her personal phone. But these clients found Lindsay through a client she had worked with before this made sense of how they got her personal phone number, but she was still careful. Lindsay told her boyfriend Jason and her dad Jeff about all of her worries, even though she was still going to go ahead with the show. Jeff told Lindsay she could do whatever she wanted and left it up to her. She could say no to this client if it made her feel bad. Jason, on the other hand, thought there was nothing wrong with the client and told Lindsay to go to the showing. Even more, he told her he would be outside the house in his car so Lindsay wouldn't feel alone. Lindsay felt better after talking to Jason, so she chose a few places for the client who has $1 million budget. That's how Lindsay found a house in Saanich. A meeting was set for February 2, 2008 at about 5:30 p.m. The meeting day came and went quickly. It was a Saturday. It was lunchtime for Lindsay and Jason at a nearby diner in the afternoon around 4:30 p.m. Lindsay went home to get ready for her meeting with the client. Jason, on the other hand, went to a car repair shop to do something else. The two decided to go to the house separately. For some reason, Lindsay was on her way to the client's house to meet them. Jason was running late with a friend at the car shop, but he would be there soon after Lindsay got there. Jason texted Lindsay to say he was sorry for being late and that he was on his way. Okay was the last text message Lindsay sent to Jason. I need to go. People from Mexico are here again at 5:38 p.m. Jason texted Lindsay that he was almost at the house in Saanich. He was on his way. Lindsay would not read this message and would not answer it either. Jason parked in front of the house around 5:45 p.m. without giving it much thought. It turned out that he was with the friend he picked up from the car shop. When Jason pulled up to the front door, he saw a guy with dark hair standing there with his back to him. The front door was wide open. He and his friend then hung out outside for 10 minutes. But after a while, Jason thought he was being a nosy, interfering boyfriend, so he took the car for a spin. Once he got to Torquay Drive, he could still see the house and front door very well. He waited for 10 more minutes and then texted Lindsay to say that he thought everything was fine. But like the first text, this one was never read, and Lindsay never replied. He also saw the man and the woman in the white, pink, and black dress. Go back inside. He said that at that point, nothing was scary. Jason started to worry after 20 minutes. It shouldn't have taken Lindsay this long to show the house. He walked up to the front door, which was now locked, and looked through the stained glass to see a pair of high heels in the hallway shoes for Lindsay. They looked like she took them off quickly because they were on the floor. This set Jason off right away. Why would Lindsay take her shoes off to look at a house? This made Jason call 911, and his friend went around the back of the house to look into it while on the phone with the operator. Jason tried to open the front door and even knock on it, but it wouldn't budge. A friend of Jason's ran out from the back of the house and told him that the back fence was very open and the back patio door was wide open. Jason hung up the phone after telling the operator that he was going to go into the house. He stood by the front door while his friend unlocked it from the back. It was quiet when Jason walked into the house. Where did Lindsay go? He walked down the hall up the stairs and then stopped in the master bedroom. Jason went there and saw his girlfriend lying on the floor, dead and badly hurt. Lindsay Buziak, who was 24 years old, had died. That's when Jason called 911 again. But this time he asked for cops and emergency services shortly after the paramedics and detectives came, but Lindsay could not be saved. The police said she was dead at the scene. She had more than 40 wounds. More research turned up some very scary facts. Lindsay did not hurt herself in any way to defend herself. Not at all. This made it seem very likely that Lindsay was struck from behind and didn't know what was going to happen. It makes me feel cold to think about it. Lindsay had a feeling that her new clients were not quite right. It seemed like these clients were too good to be true. Plus, the inspectors didn't know what to do. As far as anyone else knew, Lindsay had never met the customers before. The buyer wasn't someone she knew well or was friends with. So why did Lindsay get hit so badly? Police were sure of one thing after seeing so many stab wounds: this person was seriously hurt. The attack on Lindsay was angry and had a personal touch to it. The person who did this wanted to make sure Lindsay couldn't get out of the front door, living, which was too bad right now. The cops only had one job: to find the person who killed Lindsay in an attack on the quiet street of Dusa. Place a real estate agent was killed. This story quickly spread through Victoria. This kind of crime just didn't happen in this wealthy area. It shook real estate agents to their core. Killers who looked like clients were out for blood. Suddenly being a real estate agent didn't sound like such a great job. The inspectors were the ones everyone was looking to for answers. They wanted the person or people who did it to be caught and punished. Hearing that Lindsay had died in a terrible accident was heartbreaking for her family. They couldn't believe it. Lindsay was excited to be at work doing what she loved, but now she was gone. Jeff was upset and wanted his daughter to get justice first. The police looked through Lindsay's phone, except for two things. Everything was fine. At first, there was the fact that the buyer had called Lindsay on her home phone. This made the police even more sure that the client knew Lindsay. Things like this stood out like a sore thumb. The second and scarier thing Lindsay found was that her phone had called a number she didn't know from her contacts list. A BlackBerry in her pocket had called an unknown number at 5:41 p.m. It was thought by the cops that this was the exact moment when Lindsay was attacked at some point during the fight. The phone may have hit some random buttons that caused a call to be made while it was in Lindsay's pocket. This was a very important hint. The timestamp on the house's lockbox showed that it was 5:29 p.m. when the police later checked it. This is when Lindsay and the clients came into the house. A guy about 6 feet tall with dark hair and a middle-aged woman with blonde hair and a pink, white, and black striped dress were seen talking to Lindsay outside the house by people who were close to the house. People who saw Lindsay with them thought they knew each other because she smiled and shook their hands soon after they saw the three people coming into the house, but no one saw the clients leave through the front or back door because of this. Jason's account of what happened when he saw the clients outside the house from his car was correct. The next thing the police did was look over the crime scene. It didn't help much, though, because the killers were very smart. They didn't leave any DNA fingerprints or other clues that could help the cops find them. Even though they didn't want to say it, the cops knew that. The people who killed Lindsay had a very well thought out plan. They also asked Lindsay's family and friends if she had any haters or people who might want to hurt her. But they didn't find out anything. There didn't seem to be anyone who didn't like Lindsay. The police had no choice but to look at the phone Lindsay used to get the strange call in the first place. It turned out that the phone he used to call Lindsay was a burner phone that he bought in Vancouver under a fake name a few months before the attack. This proved planning ahead. The terrifying attack on Lindsay had been planned for a long time. Interestingly, the phone was only used once after it was bought to make that terrible call to Lindsay. Also, the police learned that the phone had been turned off after the murder and hadn't been used since pings from the cell phone also showed that it had taken a boat from Vancouver to Saanich. The cops thought that the phone might have been bought as part of a plan to kill someone and then thrown away after the crime. Also, it turned out that the client gave Lindsay a fake name. Then the police looked at the house itself, as well as the business that owned it, and other things they did find something strange. After that, Lindsay was showing her customers a house on Deusa Place, a street with only 4 houses. The house that tragedy happened was on the edge of the cul-de-sac. The street named Deusa Place was named after a guy named Joe Deusa Shirley ex-Yo. Jason's mom knew Joe through business. As you may remember, Jason's family owned a successful real estate business and knew everyone in the business. Now the police were suspicious that the house Jason told Lindsay to show her clients, even though she was scared, was actually owned by a friend. When the police got this new information, they quickly changed their attention to Jason, and the XYO family of people witnesses agreed with Jason's account of what happened, but the cops still didn't understand some things. So why would Jason show up late to the house if he knew that his girlfriend didn't like the new client after lunch? He should have offered to drive Lindsay right to the movie. What the cops also thought was very strange was that Jason ran straight to the master bedroom as soon as his friend opened the door. Why did he do that? How did Jason know this was where Lindsay would be? Most of the time, people search the whole house for the victim before they find them, but Jason went right to the spot where the body of his girlfriend was found. There were questions asked of Jason and his friend almost right away after Lindsay was killed. The cops were able to trust him, and he even passed a polygraph test. But he wouldn't give them a DNA sample. The inspectors had no idea what to do. The case was quickly ending, because they couldn't find the murder weapon, which didn't help. That is, until someone came forward with some very interesting details about Lindsay's connection with Jason. That guy was Jeff Lindsay's dad. He told the police that Lindsay was thinking about ending her relationship with Jason because he was possessive, jealous, and controlling. Things got worse in December 2007. Lindsay told her dad that she had seen something she shouldn't have while she was with him in Calgary. We don't know what Lindsay saw, and neither does Jeff, but after almost 2 months, Lindsay was picked out and killed. No one still doesn't know who made the strange call or how they planned and carried out a whole murder plot in less than 15 minutes. But there are a few ideas that police bloggers and even regular people have come up with. The first idea is that it was a planned hit. There are no fingerprints, DNA, or other signs that point to anyone else being involved in Lindsay's murder, so it seems like it was done by a professional hitman. People who knew Lindsay, her work, and her routine very well are thought to have hired a hit person to do something bad to her. The clients were there to do the dirty work. There is a huge plot hole in this idea. Even though it makes sense, someone who works as a hitman and doesn't even know who Lindsay is would attack her more than 40 times. Even though it's sad, wouldn't a gun or something long range have been better for a paid hit? It looks like Lindsay was killed out of love because of the type of cut she had, and the sheer number of them. It was planned that someone would kill Lindsay in a very personal and direct way. The second theory is a little crazy. It has to do with illegal drugs, drug trafficking gangs, and telling on people. Do you remember when Lindsay went to Calgary in December 2007? It turned out that right after Lindsay left, there was a big drug bust in Calgary in January 2008. A lot of bad guys and drug sellers were caught and arrested, including Erickson Lopez D'Alcazar, who was a big name in the drug ring. What does this have to do with Lindsay, though? Okay, phone records showed that Lindsay called an ex-boyfriend's friend while she was in Calgary. The friend was actually Erickson's family member. We're not sure what the call was about, but soon after it, illegal rings were found and people were caught. A few months later, Lindsay also died. People thought Lindsay was a police snitch who told on some shady people, so Lindsay's murder was planned by a drug gang as a way to get back at the people who lost so much money in Alberta's biggest drug bust. So was it a plan by the cartels to get back at them? Did Lindsay die because she told on the police? Well, the people in charge of the Lindsay case don't think that they looked into this option, but it was ruled out right away. It didn't make sense. That sounds like something Lindsay wouldn't want to do to say it again. Lindsay's attack was personal. It is true that telling on someone to the police can go badly very quickly, but there was no proof of this. And the police also did not find any link between Lindsay and these illegal drug gangs. However, the next idea is very interesting. It has to do with Lindsay's boyfriend Jason and his mom, Shirley Jeff. Lindsay's dad has already said a lot of bad things about Jason. At first, he thought it was odd that Jason was still in the car, while he clearly saw the unknown man at the front door. Jeff thinks Jason should have done something, even if it was just let them know he was there. It didn't make sense for him to move his car away from the house either. Plus, there's the whole going straight to the master bedroom thing last, but not least that fake Spanish voice Lindsay heard on the call that day. Surprisingly, this accent came up again in a strange way. So Nikki, one of Lindsay's friends, got a call in the middle of the night from an unknown number. The lady on the other end of the line spoke in a strange, fake, made-up Spanish accent that sounded a lot like what Lindsay had heard. Nikki couldn't remember what the caller talked about after the call ended. That being said, surely Jason's mom answered the phone when she called it back 100 times. Nikki felt really lost and strange. Why would the mom of Lindsay's boyfriend call her? How did she get her number? It didn't bother Shirley. She said she was trying to call her personal helper, whose name is Nikki, but the lines got mixed up. Nicole thought that Jason must have given Shirley her number when she asked how she got it later, though Shirley flatly denied that this call ever took place. We don't know if the police have looked into this or not. This raised a big question: was Lindsay's close friend or family member to blame for her sad death? There's no way to be sure, but it does sound disturbing. The worst thing about this case is that no one has been charged with killing Lindsay, yet taking into account the proof we have seen so far, one possibility seems very likely, but the cops can't charge the man or woman who were probably behind the attack because they don't have enough proof. The cops only had a real clue about the woman they saw at the crime scene. Her dress was an odd color. It took a lot of time and effort for the police to find either the dress or the woman wearing it, but they never found either. So they had to give up Jeff Lindsay. Lindsay's dad hasn't given up hope, and there has been some progress in the case recently, so all hope is not lost. We are now more than ever close to ending this case. Jeff has been very helpful in the investigation because he set up a website for Lindsay's murder. The website has an online forum where people can share information and theories about the case. This website is what led to a very strange post about Lindsay's death in August 2017, almost 9 years after Lindsay was attacked. Someone posted on a website, "I killed Lindsay and stupid cops will never prove it." Now, this could have been done for notice or another reason, or it could have been done by the killers, we really don't know. It was still an interesting post, though. The Saanij Police Department and the FBI just recently, 2021, said that they have new leads in Lindsay's case. Thanks to progress in DNA analysis and other technologies, for now the details are being kept secret based on what I know. Now the agents must have found something left behind in the house that had a small piece of DNA on it when the case first started. Since recently, police have been able to use genetic genealogy to solve a lot of murder cases that had not been solved before. This case may be no different. However, genetic history can take a very, very long time. However, there is still hope. We're just waiting to hear what the next step is, that the police plan to take Jeff and Lindsay's family and friends have been through a lot in the last 15 years. It's high time they found out who killed their daughter in a very disturbing way for Lindsay, Jeff, and everyone else close to her. I can't help but feel that justice is just around the corner. Thanks for watching. If this story caught your attention, please give the video a like, subscribe for more true crime content, and turn on the notification bell so you never miss an update. Stay safe, and I'll see you in the next one.